Hello everyone, today we are going to start a new series about phonetics. This is episode 1 and our main topic is what is phonetics, definition, types, and history of phonetics. Phonetics is one of the most important topics for English learners because pronunciation is a key skill. Many learners can read and write English well, but they still have problems with speaking and listening. One main reason is that they do not understand how speech sounds are produced and how speech sounds work. So in this episode, I will explain phonetics in a very simple way. You will learn the meanings of phonetics, the types of phonetics, the difference between phone and phoneme, and the history of phonetics from ancient times to modern times. At the end of this episode, you will have strong foundation. Then in episode 2, we will go deeper into speech production. Okay, let's begin. Warm-up question, warm-up sounds versus spelling. Before we talk about phonetics, I want you to think about this question. What is the difference between sound and spelling? Spelling is the written form of a word. It is the letters that we see. Sounds is what we hear when someone speaks. In many languages, spelling and sound are very close. But in English, spelling and sound are not always the same. For example, look at this word. Though, through, tough. They have similar spelling, but they are pronounced differently. Let's say them. Though, through, tough. Now, this is very confusing for learners because if you only look at spelling, you cannot guess the correct pronunciation. So we can say English spelling does not always represent real pronunciation. That is why we need phonetics. Phonetics help us understand the real sound system of language. Now, let me give you another example. Look at the word. Read. Sometimes we say, I read a book yesterday. But sometimes we say, I read books every day. Some spelling but different sounds. So phonetics help us analyze these sound differences clearly. Definitions of phonetics. Definition and explanation. Now let's define phonetics. Phonetics is a branch of linguistics that studies speech sound. It studies how humans produce and perceive sounds. In other words, phonetics studies the physical aspects of language. We can divide phonetics in two main areas. The first, sound production. Sound production means how we create speech sounds. For example, how we move the lips, how we move the tongue, how we use the teeth, how air moves through the mouth and nose, how vocal folds vibrate inside the throat. When we speak, we do not just say words. We are actually moving many organs in a very fast and controlled way. This is why phonetics is scientific, because speech is live human biological system. Second, sound perception. Sound perception means how humans hear and understand speech sounds. For example, how can we hear the difference between p and b? How can we understand fast speech? Why do we sometimes misunderstand pronunciation? Phonetics studies listening and the human hearing system. So phonetics is not only about speaking, but also about listening. Phonetic and sign languages. Now, an important point is that phonetics is not only about spoken language. Phonetics can also study sign language, for example, ASL, American Sign Language, Auslan, Australian Sign Language. Sign languages do not use the mouth as the main channel. They use hands, body movements, and facial expression. So phonetics in sign language focuses on physical features like hand movement, hand shape, sign location, and facial expression. So we can say phonetics studies physical communication in both spoken and sign languages. Who study phonetics? Now, who study phonetics? A person who study phonetics is called phonetician. Phoneticians are specialists who study speech sounds scientifically. They often work in many fields such as in linguistic research, pronunciation teaching, speech therapy, communication disorders, acting, and broadcasting, AI speech technology, speech recognition, text-to-speech. For example, when Google Assistant understands your voice, that technology uses phonetics and acoustic analysis. Phoneticians study things like the movements of articulators, tongue, lips, etc., sound wave patterns, frequency and pitch, how speech is perceived by the ear and brain. So phonetics is useful not only in education but also in technology and medicine. Three main types of phonetics. Three branches with the detailed explanation. Now phonetics is traditionally divided into three main subdisciplines. The first, articulator phonetics. Articulatory phonetics study how speech sounds are produced by the speech organs. It focuses on articulators such as lip, tongue, teeth, palate, roof of the mouth, vocal folds, and nasal cavity. For example, when we produce the sound p, lips closed, air pressure builds up, lips open, air bursts out. This is articulatory phonetics. Another example, when we produce s, the tongue comes close to the alveolar ridge. Air passes through a narrow gap. Friction happens. We hear s. So articulatory phonetics studies the mechanism of production. Number two, acoustic phonetics. Acoustic phonetics study the sound itself as a physical wave. When we speak, we create vibrations in the air. These vibrations travel through the air and reach the listener. Acoustic phonetics studies property like frequency, how fast the vibration is, pitch, high or low sound, amplitude, loudness, waveform patterns, formants important for vowel quality. For example, the vowel sound E in C and E in C may look similar, but acoustically they are different because formants are different. So acoustic phonetics uses tools like spectrogram, waveform analysis, acoustic software such as PROS. This is important for research and also for AI speech system. Number three, auditory phonetics. Auditory phonetics studies how humans perceive and interpret speech sounds. This includes how the ear receives sound, how the brain processes sound, how humans categorize speech sounds. For example, sometimes learners cannot hear the difference between R and L. This is not only speaking problem, it is also perception problem. Auditory phonetics helps us understand why learners mishear sounds. It is very important for listening skills and pronunciation training. So the three branches work together like this. Articulatory, how we make sound. Acoustic, how sound travels as wave. Auditory, how sound is heard and understood. Key term phone. Now let's study the first key term phone. A phone is the smallest unit of phonetics. It is an actual speech sound that we can hear. Phones are written in square bracket like this. For example, p, b, t, s, sh. A phone is simply a sound that happens in real speech. For example, in English, the sound p in pin is slightly different from the p in spin. In pin, the p has aspiration extra a. In spin, the p is not strongly aspirated. So in phonetics, we can say p in pin, p in spin. These are phones. They are different real sounds. So phone is above real pronunciation details. Key term phonemes. Now the second term is phoneme. A phoneme is not just a sound. It is a sound category that can change meaning. Phonemes are written using slashes. Example, per, b. Now look at pat, bat. The meaning change. So p and b are different phonemes in English. Now let me explain the differences clearly. Phones versus phoneme. Phone is a real sound we hear. Phoneme is a sound system unit in a language. A phoneme can have many phones. Example, the phoneme p can be pronounced differently. P in pin, p in spin. But in English, both belong to the phoneme p because they do not change meaning. So we can say phoneme is abstract, but phone is real. This is very important concept in linguistics. Phonetics versus phonology. Now many students can feel phonetics and phonology. Let's compare them again clearly. Phonetics studies the physical size of speech. It focuses on how sounds are produced, how sounds travel, how sounds are heard. It answers the question, how do we make this sound? Example, how do we pronounce f? We put the lower teeth against the upper teeth and let air pass. This is phonetics. Phonology studies the sound system of a language. It focuses on phoneme patterns, sound rules, meanings differences. It answers the question, which sound create meanings differences? Example, in English, s and f, s are different phonemes because shift and shift are different words. So phonology is about meaning and sound rules. Simple summary. Phonetic, physical sound. Phonology, sound system and meaning. This comparison is important because phonetics and phonology are closely related but not the same. Communication modalities. Now let's discuss communication modalities. Modality means the channels of communication. Number 1, oral modality. This is the most common type. Language like English, Thai, Lao, Khmer use oral modality. Oral, mouth speaking. Oral, ears listening. So oral means mouth, ears. Number 2, manual visual modality. Sign languages use manual visual modality. Manual, hands and body. Visual equal eyes. So manual visual means hands, eyes. Example, American Sign Languages, ASL. Australian Sign Languages, Australian. Number 3, manual modality. Now for deaf blind speakers, there is a special modality called manual. In tactile signing, language is produced by hands. Language is perceived by touch. So manual means hands. This is important because it shows that human language is not only sound. Language is a system of communication that can exist in different physical forms. Early history of phonetics. Now let's talk about history. The earliest study of phonetics was in India. Sanskrit grammarians studied phonetics as early as the 6th century BC. One of the most famous scholars was Panini. He wrote grammar about around 350 BC. His grammar is important because it describes language in a very systematic way. Panini described many phonetic principles, especially voicing. He explained that sound resonance can be created by tone when vocal folds are closed, noise when vocal folds are open. This shows he understood speech production. This Sanskrit phonetic study is called Chicha. Chicha included sound and accent, vowel quantity, vowel length, consonant pronunciation, balance of sound, connections of sounds. This shows that ancient scholars already studied pronunciation, stress, and sound pattern seriously. So phonetics is not a new science. It has existed for thousands of years. Modern history of phonetics. After Panini, phonetics developed slowly for many countries. Greek and Roman grammarians studied language, but phonetics did not develop strongly. Then in modern times, phonetics became important again around 1800 CE. The term phonetics was used in the modern meaning around 1841. In modern times, researchers gain new knowledge from medicine, anatomy, sound recording technology. This helped phonetics become more scientific. One important figure was Alexander Bell. He created visible speech, which is a phonetic alphabet based on articulation positions. This system became useful for teaching deaf children oral language. Before recording devices, phoneticians developed on training. They had to train their ears and mouth. This is called practical phonetics. Phoneticians practice recognizing sound accurately, producing sound accurately. Then, the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA, became the most important transcription system. IPA is important because it provided standard symbols for sound. So phonetics became more consistent across scholars. Bell also described vowels using high and brightness and introduced the ideas of cardinal vowels. However, later in 1960s, Peter Lesford criticized this concept. He argued that cardinal vowels are more auditory targets than articulatory targets. This shows phonetics is a field that continues to develop through research and debate. Summary in closing. Now let's summarize episode 1. Today we learned phonetics is a branch of linguistics that studies speech sounds. It studies sound production and sound perception. It includes both spoken languages and sign languages. Phonetics has 3 main branches: articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetics, and auditory phonetics. A phone is real sound written in square brackets. A phoneme is abstract unit written in slashes, and it can change meaning. Phonetics is an old field starting from Sanskrit scholars like Panini and later developed strongly in modern times. Okay, in the next episode, we will focus on articulatory phonetics. We will study speech organ, place of articulation, and how consonants are produced in the mouth and vocal tract. So if you enjoyed this lesson, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you again in episode 2. So if you have some question, please leave them in a comment. I will answer in the next episode. Okay, thank you so much.